No, I wanted to say that what I got out of this episode is, and you probably didn't even think about this, but as a golfer, don't forget to clean your balls.
I feel the minutes count down on the clock again. Feel like I'm playing in a game that I can never win. Time is running out, I know I gotta make a choice. So many whispers in my ear that I can't hear my voice. Tell me, will it end the situation that I'm in? Or am I bound to sit alone, drowning in my sins? Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Darrell, and this week is going to be a bit of a interstitial week, a bit of a special-ish kind of podcast. Not special in the good way, special in the bad way. So what we've been able to do / had to do is we've had to, due to scheduling issues and things of that nature, change up the night that we're going to be recording. So for all of you guys who wrote in these awesome community questions, those will be airing on the next episode of the Loot Bros Podcast. We will be recording, instead of on a typical, what used to be a Friday night, then moved to Saturday nights. Now we're moving to Thursday nights, which is hopefully going to free us all up a little bit better and allow us to a little more time on the edits. Typically, we record on a Saturday night. A episode of the podcast might run 3 or 4 hours. Some of that is cut out of the show. Some of that's just us hanging out and talking as friends before and after. Some of it's talking shop, talking business, all those things. But then what typically happens is I have to edit the show on Sunday, which, can take some time. And then you do all of the rendering and you do the YouTube rip and all that stuff. It typically eats up a large chunk of the day. And now that I've changed professions and sometimes I'm doing some work on Sundays, this past week we had family in town, things of that nature. It makes it a lot more difficult to only have like that one day. So what we've decided to do, we've decided to kick back the night we record in hopes that it's better for everyone to be there and it's better for everyone to spend time with their families and hopefully to give us more time to edit. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get on here, give you guys the backlog beatdown, give you guys the leaderboards, just a little update on a handful of things. And then I'm going to stitch in another one of our Super Loot Bros episodes. These are available exclusively on the Patreon. And typically our goal is to keep them there for at least a year. So that, by now, if you're a patron, you would have had time to listen to these things. And every so often, whether it's out of necessity, like we need the episode, or if it's something special, I will rip a episode from the Patreon and kind of put it out there to the public, because the audience that listens to the show every week is way bigger than the audience that subscribes to the Patreon. So it's kind of a 2-for-1, 2 birds with one stone. It gives us an opportunity to say, hey, this is what we're doing over here. And also, give us the opportunity to make changes and record on different nights. So we will be recording in just a few nights, and we'll be jumping into those great community questions and all that jazz. So I don't want to touch that here. What I do want to do is I want to toast. We've got our Patreon producers for the month, MZ Nitro, My Name is Effing Mayo, and Sadik. I want to give a shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us on the Patreon. And thanks to everyone else who's supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate you guys. We've got some great deep dives and review stuff coming up on the Patreon this month. Shout out to Joe for knocking out some of those Patreon pledges. Speaking of Patreon, if you want to get in on it, you will be able to do that for just $1. We do at least bare minimum 1 episode of the Super Loot Bros each and every month. Super Loot Bros podcast is just essentially more topical. Sometimes it's more a game review based, but it's like, instead of going through the whole rigmarole of the show, and the show isn't necessarily, focused on like a news item, right? Like here on the Loot Bros podcast, we don't want to beat you over the head like every other gaming podcast with, here's the latest news. Here's this article from Kotaku. IGN said this. Now, that's not really our thing. Every now and again, we might bring something like that up and we might have a conversation about it because it's something that interests us. But for the most part, that's not our shtick. So we like to talk games, whether it's new games, old games, in between games, all of those things. So, that being said, the Super Loot Bros gives us the opportunity to spend an hour to dive into something specific. This particular Super Loot Bros that I'm going to attach to this episode kind of falls in line with what we're doing right now with this game club kind of thing. And this is something similar that we did on the Super Loot Burst that we were really super excited about, and everyone got to talk about a game, and it's really cool. So that being said, I want to jump into what I've been playing this past week, give you guys just a little glimpse into what I've been ticking away at. I did promise one of our patrons and good friends of the show, Redbeard Rick, I would tell a story on a haul that I made. Give a shout out to Jared, one of the friends of the show and longtime patron, for entertaining my messages. I send him a lot of stuff about Vita stuff, and anytime I get a cool game or a decent haul or whatever, that's like one of the only people that I know that really cares about the Vita like I do. So I want to give a shout out for that one, because that's what I'm going to talk about. So with that being said, I'm going to crack this open, toasting it up. Thank you guys so much for supporting us on Patreon. So I've been playing the Vita. Shocker, I know, right? So I actually picked up a really sweet haul of Vita games, and one of my grail items, one of the it's the Japanese import blue-backed PS Vita. This thing is in pristine condition. It just feels like it just came out of the box. It feels brand new. Like the buttons feel great. The barcode at the bottom is not worn out, and it is just so freaking cool. Got some awesome games. Got a lot of Japanese import games, but I'll get into that in a minute. So because of me picking up this haul, I was really like, man, you know what? I've been playing Vita casually, like a little bit here and there, but I really just got this like it like reinvigorated my love for the Vita. I was like, I want to just knock out a couple more Vita games. So I jumped into Lego Marvel Avengers, and I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit on this, little interstitial episode of the podcast, because like the game itself is like, Lego in general suffers from like highs and lows for me. Like I really like Lego games sometimes, and I really hate Lego games sometimes. And they occupy this really weird space for me where it's like, Lego games seem like they're marketed towards young people, children, things of that nature. But then when you play them, sometimes there's like brain breaking like puzzles, or it's like, I don't really know what you're trying to do. I don't really know what you want me to do here. And then sometimes it's like, oh, well, duh, I can't believe I just missed that. So I've never played a Lego video game where I didn't have at least one of those moments where I'm like, oh, wait, what are they trying to get me to do? Which is fine. I mean, that's fine. It keeps you from falling asleep at the wheel. The thing that's really frustrating, though, is it's like you'll be having a lot of fun, and then they'll throw something in there like that's just completely not fun, And like I enjoy the button mashing of a Lego game, breaking things, collecting the little Lego coins or brick connector things, whatever you want to call them. I don't mind necessarily going back and replaying levels and unlocking characters and things of that nature. Like, and typically the Lego games that I've played, I've enjoyed the IP, so it's like, yeah, sure, I wouldn't mind going back through and unlocking Wolverine and then digging up all the little piles of dirt to find the collectibles, whatever. That stuff's fine with me. I've beaten several Lego games, and typically I've stayed, in the Marvel kind of brand. I've done some of the DC stuff, but I feel like the DC Lego games don't really connect with me as much as the Marvel ones do. I think the Marvel ones have been better games. The DC ones, DC Villains is pretty good. Lego Batman 3, I didn't care for that much. And then Lego Batman 1 and 2, I played with my kids when they were younger, and we quite enjoyed those. But some of the suits, some of the power-ups, and some of the things they want you to do, I actually found quite annoying compared to Lego Marvel, which I thought was the best Lego game I've played so far. I actually platinumed that one on the Vita. I beat it on PS3 or 4. And then Lego Avengers, which is what I've been playing recently, and which is a decent game. So I've played some of the Star Wars ones. I've played Indiana Jones. I've played, Lego Jurassic Park is really good. That's the one I'm going to go to next. I want to finish that one up. But so far the games are, I've played some of the Lego Harry Potter as well. So played that with my daughter. But so far the games are cute. They're fun. The combat's good. I kind of wish there was a little bit more. The combat was just like, it's almost great. Like, it just needs to go a little farther. Give me a little bit more of like a platinum style, like combo system or just something that's just a little more free flowing that like I enjoy it. You know, it's I don't mind sitting there and hammering the attack button over and over again and breaking stuff. I think that's fun. The open world aspect of it's pretty good. I preferred the Lego Marvel Vita game, just the actual Lego Marvel, because it was more of a top-down side scroll, almost like a top-angled isometric side scroller. I thought that was really cool, and it had, instead of having like a hub world that you go to, you went into your missions. I felt like that was a little more streamlined and would work really well on the handheld. But the open world aspect of making a Vita game work like they do, I mean, it's great too. Like I'm not complaining. I think it's overall really well done. The production value is great as well. I will say that like I wish that there's just certain parts that like it slows you down for no real good reason. But overall, Lego Marvel Avengers has been a pretty good game, pretty enjoyable, and the way that they kind of do the cheeky, you know, Lego humor retelling of the story or whatever, it's all good. It's enjoyable. So if you're looking for a decent Lego game, I recommend that one. I definitely recommend it on the Vita. I think that Lego games play pretty well on the Vita. I would dare to say best on the Vita, only because, you know, you can chip away at it, knock it out, you know, put it in suspend mode, put it down, come back to it, and it's a pretty good place for those games. So I know in our Loot Bros audience, especially the host of the Trophy Horror, Streaky Mate, he loves his Lego games. Lego games are fun, and I think they have a place, and I like the fact that there's so many of them on the Vita because it gives me a nice chunk of games to run through. Even though they're not without their faults, I've been enjoying that one, and I beat the game, and it did something kind of weird. It like you had like the Ultron fight, and it just like it ends, and it's like, okay, you've unlocked it, you've beat the campaign mode, I got like one trophy for beating the campaign mode, and it was like outside of that, it was like, now go into the open world and do all the other stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't get like chapter trophies. I didn't get like set piece trophies. I got beat the game, and that was it. And I was like, wow, that was kind of wimpy. So now I got to sit there and chip away and dig at it, which again, I don't mind. Now for me, especially right now, being in car line for almost 2 hours a day, like I have to take a lot of calls, and I have a lot of customers reach out to me, which is fine. But being in car line for almost 2 hours a day, that's definitely going to be my Vita time, because, you know, I'm just sitting there waiting on people to let me pick my kids up. So that being said, let me get into the reason why I jumped into the Lego game on the Vita. Sorry guys, I gotta say, I'm sitting here recording with my eyes closed. I know that shouldn't hurt the way you talk, but I'm fighting an awful migraine, and they typically don't keep me from functioning too bad, but this morning it is not a pretty one, not a good one. So that being said, my haul. So I've been on the lookout for the Aqua Blue GameStop exclusive. I think it was GameStop exclusive. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But I know GameStop sold the Aqua Blue Vita, and they've been very expensive. eBay prices anywhere from $250. I've seen them up to $400, $500 if they're still brand new in the box. Vitas have gotten crazy expensive, and they're super expensive on Amazon. And when the Vita was kind of essentially taken out to pasture and put down, the secondhand market just skyrocketed, and the game prices have doubled. In some cases, tripled. I think Persona. Last time I looked at Persona 4 Gold, and it was like $100 on eBay. And so it's been. I've been on the prowl, on the lookout, and I own 6 Vitas currently. 2 of the fat white ones, 2 of the fat black ones, 1 slim black one, and now the slim blue and black, which is my Japanese import. Now, I have sold a few of them over the years or traded them for various other things, but typically I don't move my Vita stuff too much. I think I might have sold 1 Vita, actually, if I'm being honest. I think I only sold 1. But that being said, I don't typically move my Vita stuff around. I've really loved that console. That handheld has been my favorite handheld of all time, and it's one of my favorite places to play games. Even still, I just love it. I adore it. I think it is awesome. I think we need a number 2 so bad. Adding the extra triggers on the back, something in the vein of the Switch. The Switch is a pretty good console as well. But something with the PlayStation look and feel and that ecosystem. So I purchased an Xbox 360, not 360, Xbox One, the big fat original one. I purchased it, I don't know, a couple years ago. Year and a half ago, something like that. I told you guys on the show, I put an Xbox One in my office with my old job. And then when the kids would come in there, they would play Xbox. And that was kind of like, something I put in there to keep them occupied. And while we had to sit in the office for a couple hours. That being said, it came with about 5 or so games. On Marketplace, I picked up another 5 games for about $30, and it kind of interchanged 1 or 2 of those. All in all, a total, I paid $40 for the Xbox with games, and then I paid $30 for the other stack of games. Now, that puts me at having an Xbox One with 10 games, okay, for $75. I don't even know, $70. We'll say $70. So I'm always on Marketplace, and I'm always on these places asking, hey man, you guys, you got something for sale? Are you interested in trades? I've got extra game consoles, and a lot of times with the resale market and just the value of these consoles changing, you can get more buying power by trading a console for something, or trading games for a console, than you can by just outright selling it. Like right now, the Xbox Ones are not worth that much. The Xbox Series S and X are out. The Series S is already selling on the secondhand market for less than the retail value, which is not the case with like the PlayStation 5. But also, you can play all your Xbox One games on the new Xbox. And realistically, if we're being honest, no one's even playing their games physically or buying their games on Xbox. They're all playing on Game Pass. So Game Pass has essentially, in my opinion, devalued the secondhand market a little bit harder than the competitors. Like a secondhand PlayStation 4 still goes for way more than any Xbox. Like I'm seeing them still listed daily for $200. The trade-in credit alone for an Xbox One was $75 at GameStop, whereas the PS4 base model, we're talking base model on both of them, base model was $125 trade-in. And then if you get a 1 terabyte version of either, it then goes up to $100 for Xbox, and then $200 or almost $200, $175, something like that, for the PS4. Now, those were the last values the last time I was in the store. I mean, we're talking less than 4 weeks ago. So anytime I'm in there and I'm looking at games, I always ask kind of what these things are trading in for. Or, it used to be you could look them up on the app pretty simply, but now it gets a little difficult, and I don't even think I have their app anymore. But that being said, I'm always inquiring, right? So the used trade-in value for this Xbox would have been $75, right? I paid $40 for it, which I got a really good deal on. So I'm on Marketplace. I see someone post a Vita with 5 games, and I'm like, hey, were you open to trades for consoles? And they're like, what are you offering? I was like, I got an Xbox One with games. What games? And then I send a picture of just 5 of the games out of that stack of 10 that I was talking about, one of which was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, still in the wrapper. So 4 games plus that Call of Duty, and then they're like sold. And I'm in my head, I'm like, yeah, no, this is never going to work out. And it took 2 weeks to finally meet up with this person. But sure enough, I show them the Xbox, I give them the games, they're super excited. They give me the Vita, they hand me the Japanese import version of Minecraft with the physical cart, which is huge because the North American version only had the digital code in it. So I have a case on my shelf for Minecraft with a used digital code in it. Now I have the Japanese version with the physical cart. I got another copy of Call of Duty Black Ops. I got another copy of God Eater 2, which I already owned. I got the Japanese import version of Need for Speed Most Wanted. I got Sonic Racing Transformed or something like that. Anyway, Sonic Racing on the Vita. And there's one more. I don't even remember. Anyway, there was another game. It ended up being 6 Vita games total because he had 5 cases, but one case had 2 games in it. And one of those games that did not have a case was Sonic. So at the end of the day, I had about a 40, maybe if you want to count 40, one of those games from the $30 pile that I swapped out with it, $40, $45 total investment in the trade deal. And I got this amazing PS Vita with and it even came with the memory card and the memory card adapter if you wanted to mod it. I haven't modded any of my Vitas. So, but it was cool. It was cool. I got these games. I got the Vita. It was in pristine condition. It is by far in the best shape of any Vita I own. My main would be my Slim. I love my PS Vita Slim, but I use it all the time. So the barcode's completely worn out on it. It's got some visible wear and tear and scratches because I keep it in this little sleeve or I keep it in this hard shell case, but I throw it in my work bag. Like today, I'm going to throw it in my work bag and I'm going to head, when I head out to get the kids at Carline, I'm going to be sitting there chipping away, breaking some Lego blocks. So that being said, I said I would share on the story on this podcast. I didn't share it in the Facebook group. I was just kind of playing around, being a bit of a troll, just about everything. So either way, it was a great deal. I'm super, super excited, and I am invigorated, just ready to play more Vita and jump back into it. So super, super thrilled to have that. So if you're listening to the show and you got any PS Vita stuff you want to, sell or trade, holler at your boy. I'm all about it. So that being said, I want to put a plug one more time in for the Patreon. I want to give you guys just kind of a big rundown on the a brief rundown on the current game club we're doing on Patreon. The next episode we get together and record, maybe one more. Now that we moved the dates, we might have one more week. Either way, we're going to be doing Dead Space. Dead Space is going to be the big push, for this first game club, and then we're going to be jumping into whatever the patrons vote on. So if you want to vote on the next game that we do for the community game club, you got to get in on Patreon. You can vote for as little as $1, and out of the games that we have listed, Gears of War and Ghost of Tsushima are tied for the most votes. So we are currently in between Gears of War, Ghost of Tsushima. Now, here's the games that are on the list. What we did was we picked games. Every host of the Loot Bros podcast picked a game and submitted it to the list that was either is currently or has been on PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, or Premium, which is what we call it now, or Game Pass, or games with gold. So we've got Hitman, Death's Door, Shredder's Revenge, Guardians of the Galaxy, Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, Bugsnax, Halo 4, Death Stranding, and Gears of War. Right now, Gears of War and Ghost of Tsushima are tied with 29% of the votes each. Death Stranding and Death's Door are tied with 14, and Hitman, three-way tie, 14, 14, 14. So we've got Hitman, Death's Door, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Gears of War are all kind of what has been voted on. If you want to get in there and sway that, you want to pick Gears, you want to pick Ghost, or you want to go in there and just kill the whole thing and vote on something else, jump in, get involved on the Patreon. You can vote for as little as $1. We gave every tier voting privileges, and we would love for you guys to participate and be a part of that. So that being said, we're going to head on into the leaderboards, and we're going to go to the Loot Bros True Trophies leaderboard. First place, we've got the Grounded Gamer with 180 trophies. Last thing he played was My Name is Mayo the Third. Congratulations, that'd be the game of the year. Second place, we got I'm Styling Your Bro with 127 trophies. Working on some Train Sim World 2. Third place, Mr. TMNT 84 with 121 trophies, playing some Monopoly Madness. Good job, Joe. That's a big week for you. That's a lot. Fourth place, we got Mr. Matt spelled backwards with 47 trophies, playing some Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And then in fifth place, we have the Affectatious Daunt with 36 trophies, playing We Are OFK. I don't know what that game is, but I'm pretty sure it's awesome. So that would be our True Trophy leaderboards. Those are good weeks, guys. 180, 127, 121. Those are big trophy scores. About time you guys woke up and put in some work, man. That's awesome. So heading over to the True Achievements leaderboards, it's another big week. We got I'm Styling on Your Bro with 3,880 achievement points. Last trophy was in Tony and Clyde. Or achievement, rather. Second place, we got Sadik with 2,177. Last achievement point would be in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Good job. That's a great game. Third place, Sony Pony to you with 1,250 achievement points. The last achievement was is in the best month ever. Never heard of that game either. Fourth place, we got GDI Master Ace with 728 achievement points, playing some Generation Zero. And fifth place, we have Parsival 2528 with 175 achievement points, and he's playing some Evil Within 2. Good job, Levi. I hope you enjoy it. Evil Within 2 is one of those games that I have not gotten to, but looks amazing. I want to give another shout out on here. We're going to go to number 6 with Dump Liquor. Dump Liquor hadn't been on a long time. 65 achievement points, playing some Saints Row 2. Shout out to my boy Dump Liquor. That's awesome. All right. Backlog Beatdown. Our latest updates. I'm silent on your bro with 129 points. He is pulling away from everybody. We started to get close, and he's pulling away. CJ, 89 points. Diego, 82 points. Resident Daryl, 79. Red Beer Rick, 73. Gareth, 55. Joe Priestley, shout out to Joe, 55. JT with 50. Yield with 30. Jared with 29. Alex with 23. MZ with 22. James the Nerd with 21. Zach Ledford with 21. Kalai with 20. Sadik with 20. Noah the Builder with 19. Noah the Builder put in some work. He beat Monster Hunter and he beat Sonic on this past week. So that was really good. Homer with 15. No, excuse me, Trigger with 15. Homer with 9. Corey with 9. Corey's just not claiming his, but he's definitely beating games. Dino Killer with 8. Spider Pax with 8. BWOW with 6. Jim with 5. John Michael with 4. T-Bear with 4. James with 3. And then Levi with 2. So that is our backlog beatdown. Those are our updates. That's everything we got going on right now with the community. We would love to have you guys jump in, be a part of the Patreon, write in for the community questions, all that good stuff. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop this. I'm going to add the episode that we recorded about a year ago on Patreon. This one features me, my Kalai, CJ, and Zach. And it was a good conversation. It was a fun conversation. So these are the kind of things that we're putting up on Patreon. Some of you out there are like, yeah, I don't really do Patreon. It's really simple, guys. Like I said, you can get in for an extra $1 a month, and then you can get the Super Loot Bros podcast. Plus, you get all the extra stuff we do. So, like already this month, I've done 2 Loot Bros Comic Cast reviews. So I've been doing like a special review series over there, and they're short, 20 minutes or so. But like I've been adding extra content in there just for patrons. So definitely jump in, or you can, I'll eventually, I put them in their own separate feed, under Loot Bros Comic Cast. So like, yeah, sure, you can get them free somewhere else if you don't want to be a part of the Patreon, but the patrons get everything we do extra early, and you don't have to subscribe to multiple feeds. Now, when you log in and you subscribe to Patreon, you can plug your RSS feed into your favorite podcast catcher, and you're good from there. So you don't have to have multiple apps. So just kind of want to throw that out there, you guys. I appreciate everything you do for this community. I appreciate you all being a part of this community. This has been the Loot Bros podcast, section 1, part 1, whatever you want to call it. And stay tuned for the rest of the episode. Thanks, guys. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Super Loot Bros podcast. That's right. This is the second Patreon exclusive candid conversation with the Loot Bros. We got a full panel tonight. We got a big group. This is awesome. So tonight with me, I got the T-Bird.
Yo.
We got CJ.
Hey, guys. And Kalai.
Yeah. We got Kalai.
What up, everybody?
And we got the Gronk.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all, play football now. So awesome, Zach. It's good to have you. Kalai, it's good to have you back. CJ, Tanner, it's always a pleasure. Glad you guys all made it. Tonight on the special Super Loot Bros podcast, we are going to do a gaming book club. So tonight, what we're going to do is everyone is going to go around the table, and they have all picked out a game that they enjoyed, something they've played, and we're just going to kind of go around and talk about it. We're going to have a nice, fun 4-hour conversation about video games. And the idea around this was to kind of stray away from something that we talk about, regularly on the show. So, for example, you will not hear me talk about Resident Evil or Dying Light or Max Payne 3 or, any Ratalaika games, unfortunately, because that's really all I wanted to talk about tonight.
And I'm out.
That's right. All CJ's favorites are gone. So all that rat trash.
You mean there's other things other than Ratalaika on the store? Come on.
I'm having trouble finding anything that's not Ratalaika or East Asia Soft. So I must be in the wrong part of the store.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, thank you to all the patrons. If you listen to this, you are a patron. We really appreciate all the support. It was a great first month. I think we had a good time. We put out some really good content. And so far, we've gotten a lot of positive response. So far, everyone who has subscribed has either said, hey, this is really great, I appreciate it, or they didn't say anything at all, which is basically saying, hey, this is great, I appreciate it.
Sound logic.
Exactly. All right, so I was going to pick a victim to go first, but I figured what I would do is give the option. Do we have a volunteer to go first?
I mean,
I'll go first. I'll go first because mine's only short, if you like.
So that answered your question from the pre-show there, Clyde.
Yeah.
Hang on. Sorry, CJ. Before you go any farther, we got a toast.
Oh, I thought.
That's what
I forgot. That's the second time.
I know. I was very confused about something. I was like, something's not right, and I couldn't.
It's this new show. It's this cut the fat. Don't do the whole work your way into it. See how everybody's doing. It's just the whole like, oh, we gotta. We're gonna try to keep it short and sweet, and then I just forget the toast. That's two for two. I'll see if I remember next time. All right. This toast is going to go out to our patrons. It's going to go out to Gamescom. So CJ got together with some listeners and some friends of the show and covered, Gamescom for this coming week's Loot Bros podcast. And I think we can all come together and unite under this common cause and pour one out for our friends at Volition for the new Saints Row. Dang.
Slurp, slurp, slurp.
Took me a minute because I don't have fingernails.
Tanner, you put as much effort into that as Volition did into their current new game.
Big L.
So I've reached out to Jeff Hanna multiple times about being on the show, and finally I got him to pay me some attention.
Good.
So hopefully he'll come on here and explain himself. All right, CJ, floor's all yours.
Oh, so yeah. So I'll preface mine with I don't know how this game plays today, because I suppose it was a games with service, so it may not be an experience that you necessarily want to engage with. But it's the first game that I put significant time into when I started gaming again on the PS4. An early, in fact, I think it was basically a launch title or within the first few months, and it was broken when I got it. Well, I thought it was broken because it's an online game and I couldn't get it to work, but it turned out that it wasn't broken. Everyone else in the world could get it to work, but Australian internet. But eventually I had to sell the game, and then I got it again like 6 months later and I got it to work. And it's funny because usually with a game, if it doesn't work or it doesn't hit me right, I never go back to it. But this one, I was really tempted. And of course, a racing game. And I'm talking here of the Ubisoft, The Crew, the original Crew, which again, it was definitely a game of its time. And I know many people, perhaps some of the patrons, have played The Crew 2, which quite a different game in many aspects. The original Crew was an open world. The hook was you could drive from one side of America to the other. Of course, the second one is more based on fast travel than actually driving. But that was the hook. It was wonderful single player. It was kind of challenging as well, definitely not all easy. And for the time, the integration online was very good. It suffered from a few common issues with player versus player events that were done on a sort of a separate map and server. And this is why I feel it probably not such a great experience now. But it's the first time I'd played a game that required, four people in a party and in the game part as well, to do synchronized movements with cars or go on collectible hunts together, or races together or whatever. And I thought it was a really wonderful social experience because you could do the story and, by yourself, and you didn't, you could listen if you wanted to, and then you could come together in a party and you could do all these events. And it was, hundreds of hours, I think 150-hour game or whatever to see the majority of stuff. There was a ton in there, and it was a real testament to where that series could have gone. Unfortunately, it went a little bit of a different direction, still good, but different direction. And it sort of ties into the current upcoming Riders Republic, which I hope captures some of those elements that I really like from the original crew. But if you're a warrior and you don't mind potentially janky servers and perhaps dated graphics, I definitely recommend, if you're a racing fan, to check it out. It's probably the best sort of open world online racing game we've had to this date across any system.
Now, I got a couple questions about that one, CJ. I never played the crew, but I was very into the idea. And if I remember correctly, that they kind of sold that game as like you could go anywhere in the United States.
Yes.
Like you could essentially go to your house, which, I mean, we all learned that you couldn't. But how open was it? I mean, was it pretty good? I mean, was it pretty, like, I mean, I know you don't spend a lot of time driving through the States, but did it feel like you had a decent amount of open world to explore?
Yeah, so to drive around the whole map in the original one was about 4.5 to 5 hours, and about 2 hours side to side. The second one, I think, is like 30 minutes side to side, so it gives you an idea of how they really condensed it in the second iteration. But it did, because, like, I've been to various parts of America, and I remember at the time I was playing Assassin's Creed Unity as well, and like I'd been to some of those cathedrals in France or whatever else, and obviously it's set, ages and ages ago, but a lot of those buildings are still there. And I remember listening to someone talk at the time, and they're like, I think it was somewhere there in France, and they're like, I actually stood in that cathedral, and being in the game, and yeah, sure, it's like, looks like a game, but it was realistic enough that you sort of get chills, and you're like, yeah, I was really there. And I got that experience with certain parts in the US as well, and obviously for Americans, you've been all around, so you would recognize a lot more things that I didn't or whatever. But there is enough there, definitely, to feel that you're sort of immersed in the setting. Yeah, it was very cool.
That's awesome. That's one that I wanted to play, and I will eventually. I actually do not own that one, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, well, buyer beware. I don't know how it holds up today with servers and all that sort of thing.
I gotcha. Now, can you get out of your car at all, or is it strictly you're in your car from start to finish?
Yeah, no, it's same with the second crew. It's always in the car, and so you don't really ever see your character, I suppose. Yeah. Behind the windscreen.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was one, like I said, I wanted to check it out. Did anybody else ever play the crew?
I
wanted to check it out.
Yeah, I never played it, but this is one of those racing games are hard for me to play, unless it's like Mario Kart or something. So,
gotcha.
I definitely agree on that, and I'm terrible at racing games.
Yeah.
I hear that there are some patrons out there who want to see you play some racing games, actually.
Definitely. Well, see, the advantage, Kalai, of an online racing open world game like that, and unfortunately there's been none. The only other things like that are the Forza Horizon series, is that for challenges you can't do, you can actually, if you know people that race, that are decent at, you can join up with them, and you can, like, they can help you do it. But you can also, the problem with racing is that unlike, I imagine it's a bit like football, the more you know about how to drive a real car on a track, or you watch it and you see lines and things like that, the easier the racing games are. And so if you're not interested in that, if you get into a game with somebody that, watches F1 or, whatever, has a passion for NASCAR or whatever, they know about distances, they know about speed, they know about gear change, and you can learn so much from just watching how they drive, which I know sounds ridiculous, but it actually can make, I don't know, but I would imagine for a non-racing person that's a bit intimidated by some of the challenges, can make it a lot easier and actually interesting, because it is a real science. It's not just like you hit the apex and you hope that it works, the braking and everything. It is cool when you get in the flow.
Well, I play racing games like I play my fighting games. I button mash and hope something works out.
Yeah, that's how I used to do it too.
I platinumed Injustice 2 button mashing.
Well, I do like to race on GTA, if that counts.
Yeah. You sort of, you don't even realize, like, you pick it up, like, Like I remember when I started, I used to just hold the accelerator the whole time, and you'd use other cars as bumpers, or you'd hit the wall and bounce off, and then you learn about the apex. You learn that it is quicker to accelerate through the corner and stuff, and it's cool. Yeah, it's a lot of. I think that genre. I know it's a very specific genre, but I think in some ways it perhaps, and again, I'm sure football and the sport games are the same, but it's very realistic in parts to real life, especially the rally games as well. The way the cars respond in some of them. It's great.
Awesome. All right. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
All right, do it.
I've been going back and forth which game I should talk about, but I've decided. So, way before I had an Xbox 360, I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft. I mean, like 12 hours a day of World of Warcraft. And then I saw in this little game store the most coolest looking game ever. And that was Fallout 3. And I said,
Yeah.
Jim, I need that. I need a 360. And Jim was like, I'm not buying you a 360. You're never going to play it. I'm like, I want a 360. He said, it's a Microsoft product. I ain't having a Microsoft product in my house. Like, okay, Jim.
Smart man.
And then I showed him the wonders of Madden. And the next thing you know, I had a 360. Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah. But Fallout 3 will be so memorable for me because it took me from playing a game like WoW, where I had a lot of negative and terrible problems, to a single player experience that had such an open world and let me do so many things. It just blew my mind. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite Fallout games.
It's an amazing game.
I mean,
that's actually my favorite game.
Well, like I didn't play open world games a lot back then. I played Final Fantasy VII, but I didn't finish it. I played Final Fantasies again, didn't finish it. So to play an experience that would just drove me to continue to play. And the fact that you started as a baby was like mind-blowing to me. And I'm very heavy into fantasy. I mean, heavy into fantasy. So Fallout 3 was something I would never, ever think about playing. Because it was that sci-fi, post-apocalyptic world. And that's the game that threw me into modern gaming.
So you would say that you went from playing WoW to playing WoW.
Hell yeah.
I remember the first time I played that game, I was at your brother's house, Daryl. And
Yep.
I think I was staying the weekend. I didn't sleep at all that entire weekend because he had let me play that game because he had it, and he didn't play it at all because he just didn't like Fallout. And I loved it. And I stayed up for like 3 days in a row playing that game.
Yeah, he did.
And I just remember I got at the very start of the game, I kept getting trapped at the school in the beginning, just kept getting killed by the Raiders because I didn't know what I was doing. It was awesome.
Right? And that whole system, it was just the whole VAT system where you could like hone in and just like shoot somebody in the face. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was the first game besides Gears of War that had like major gore. And it was awesome. It was awesome.
No, not really. The first game actually to have major gore was the Mortal Kombat series.
Well, I meant like
And
for me when I played.
Oh, okay.
games.
Yeah. When it was released on the Nintendo, like at one point they didn't even have the gore. They took a lot of that gore out. Oh.
Yeah,
I heard about
Nintendo nerds. So,
It's so funny, Kalai, you mentioned like you go from the MMO to a game like that because there's so many similarities with Fallout and MMOs. Like they in some ways take the best parts of the single player parts of an MMO and just ramp it up in that respect. And I think a lot of people that don't play MMOs don't understand how much of the time you spend in those games playing by yourself as well. You're not they're not always playing with other people, even though there's people in the world. And it's so funny, like whether you gravitate to Fallout or Assassins or even Ghosts that's out now, there's these sort of, I don't know, like I find it a limiting factor because, I've played those, so I want the MMO, I want to experience more things, but it's interesting to hear you went the other way. And I wonder, is that because you were just scared of the time commitment and the time it was sucking up in one game that got you out of it in the end? Or
No, it was the negative people. It was WoW taught me one basic thing that I did not realize. I love to play games with other people. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. But WoW has such a negative community. It doesn't matter how big of a guild you're in or how small of a guild you're in. First of all, you have to be in a guild. You can't progress in that storyline without being in a guild. Or not even storyline. I'm not even going to say that far. And the guild I was in, I was higher up rank. And we were doing a raid. That's what they were called. I was doing a raid. And they wanted to try this boss. And I said, okay, let's go try this boss. Well, the guy who owned the guild or whatever was like, don't do that. I'm like, well, why not? He goes, well, you're going to die. Well, that's all right. I'm going to die. Everybody wants to do it. Maybe we won't die. And he was like, no, do not do it. Do not run that boss. So I ran the boss because that's what the group wanted to do. If I die, I don't care. As long as we're having fun, I'm going to learn from it. We got kicked out of the guild as soon as we were done that run. So
well, that's like everything. You've got to find the right group of people. But you must admit, like the Fallout, it's basically you've taken the bits you like of the MMO and you've removed the community aspect that you didn't like, I suppose.
Yeah,
games.
exactly. Like,
so it's a perfect fit for you. Yeah.
Plus, with Fallout, you can do so much more than in
yes.
WoW. And if you want to do it in the high stuff, you are playing by yourself and you're just doing the same exact thing over and over again. It's just not fun. Actually, Levi said to me, oh, Kalai, I think I'm going to get WoW because I want to experience the storyline. I was like, don't do that. There's no storyline in WoW. Don't do it. He's like,
the other great thing about Fallout is they're basically as janky as an MMO as well. So.
Exactly. Well, no, that's not true. As long as you played it on 360. It wasn't.
Oh, speaking of 360, that's where I played Fallout 3. And I spent like 30 or 45 minutes trying to figure out how to get out of the vault. Couldn't do it. Finally got out of the vault. The first thing I saw killed me. I turned the game off, and I've never turned it back on.
So you had a Josh Craps moment with the Fallout 4?
The rope.
The rope. He got stuck in the vault for like 2 hours in Fallout 4.
Fallout 4, Fallout 4 wasn't that bad, but Fallout 3, dude, I got stuck in there for like 30, 45 minutes. I'm like, how do I get out of here? This sucks. Why do people think this game is good? This is terrible. And then I got out, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Poof, dead. I'm like, this game sucks. I'm never playing this again.
Well, I think it's Fallout 3. I can't remember. I think it's Fallout 3. I could be wrong about this, so if I am, I'm so sorry. Where you got the achievement for blowing up the nuke.
Yeah, that's it. That's Fallout 3.
That is, yeah, that makes it fantastic. Did you know about that, Daryl?
No. All I knew was I didn't like my experience, and I never looked back.
Yeah.
There's a settlement. There's a settlement in the game that is literally on top of a nuke, and you have the option to just blow the entire thing off the map. And if you do, there's an achievement.
Yeah.
So, of course, everybody saves the game and blew up the nuke and then reloaded the game.
It's awful, too, because after you blow up Megaton,
yeah,
you can go back and there's one survivor, and she turned into a ghoul. And she's still nice to you after you blow up. You could tell her you blow up the town, and she'll still be nice to you. It's ridiculous. It makes you sad.
Are you telling me there's actually substantial gameplay out after you get through the vault? Like if you go outside?
Oh, dude, I easily put 2,000 to 3,000 hours into that game.
Jeez.
Yeah,
I thought that was just like an hour vault
I started over for fun.
That's what I
no
thought.
idea. Amazing.
Yeah, that's the type of game I like. Because the storyline in Fallout, now notice I didn't say it has a great storyline. The storyline in Fallout is good. I couldn't complain about it. The storyline in 4 is good. But the point of these games are to just give you a small enough plot line and that you fill in, what the beginning and what the end's going to be. Like in Fallout 4, only because I remember that plot line better, your son's been stolen. You have to go look for your son.
Yeah.
But, so, eventually, the end of the game is you get your son.
Eventually.
And
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Wow, spoilers.
no, and I was going to say, it's the in-between that makes the game. Because you're literally writing your own game. Do you do this quest? Do you do that quest? Do you join this faction? Do you join that faction? Do you go out and find the power armor? Do you build your settlement? Do you not build your settlement?
That actually got taken for granted, I thought. Building the settlements was actually really fun. I made a really sick base.
Stupid.
I loved it. Then again, that's because I always like building stuff. That's why I'm a big fan of like the Halo Forge and Minecraft.
Yeah, I'm terrible at those games.
Cool. But it was actually funny because in Fallout 3, the roles are reversed. You're looking for your dad, and instead,
that's
instead
right.
of your son. Yeah.
Right.
And then you got to destroy the
Tanner,
Enclave.
you played the Fallout games, right?
I beat 4. I got halfway through 3. I don't know why I never finished it though, but mods make those games so much better. They actually fix it sometimes.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I'd go in the order of like, I think it's Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and then Fallout 4, as far as Bethesda Fallouts go.
Well,
I haven't played
New
the
Vegas
other ones.
isn't Bethesda.
Well, I know it's Obsidian, but you know what I meant. The first person Fallouts as well.
I mean,
Trying to say.
New Vegas had my favorite moment of all times. You played Vegas?
Oh yeah, I played that one just as much as I did 3.
Do you remember how you had to get the key off of the guy? There was one point to get to the machine, you needed to get the key off one of the main characters.
Was that
was
for
close to the
one
end
of
of the game.
Yeah, I did a way
To get to
different
house?
ending. Yeah, I did
To
a
get
way
to
different
house?
ending.
Oh, well, I went in to talk to the guy, to kill the guy, and I had the option to sleep with him, so I slept with him, and then he went to sleep, so I just killed him. I one-shot him into sleep and took the key I needed. I was like, wait, I can sleep with him, then kill him? Oh my god.
See, what I did was I tricked Yes Man into being my companion, and he killed the guy, and then I ended up going to the dam. I destroyed the Legion, and then I ended up blowing up the NCR as well and took over New Vegas myself.
Nice.
I kept Mr. House alive.
So what you're saying is I should probably play these games? Is that what you're getting at?
They're fun, but you do have to sink time into them. I just played them so much, I pretty much remember, like, a lot. Pretty much everything.
You don't play them for the storyline, though. You literally play them for the gameplay, like the ability to do anything you want.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd agree with
Just-
that.
it's
Don't
like-
know how much. I'm not sure how much appeal they'd have for the 5-minute warrior. These sort of games.
Yeah, I'm out.
You know what I was thinking, hearing you talk about like that. There's no way I'm going back to Fallout 3, even Fallout 4 as a hard sell. But I'm really interested in how Fallout 76 must be now that they've finally, worked on it over 2 years or 3 years, and it would be interesting to. Has anyone played it recently?
I haven't played it recently, but it's not meant to be an online game. I just can't get into it.
I bought it day one. I bought the collector's edition.
Yeah, I think it's a different game now though to day one.
I haven't gone
very
back.
I wanted that helmet. That helmet was sick.
Yeah, that's right. That helmet.
That's why I got the collector's edition.
I only bought the special edition.
I bought the $5 bin edition.
Yeah,
I spent
I really
$5
did.
on it.
Yeah, so there was the trifecta edition, or is it the
yeah, Tricentennial.
Tricentennial edition? Yeah, I bought that for $5.
I mean,
Brand new, still in the wrapper.
because if
Never-
somebody wants it, I think I have the Xbox version around here somewhere. I bought a new Xbox. I upgraded my Xbox, and they gave it to me for free, and I was like, fuck what I'm going to do with this.
Got like seven.
The funny thing is with that 76, they took the Australian Consumer Competitions Board took Bethesda to court or whatever in Australia and ruled that game was false advertising when it came out, and they actually refunded for 6 months. If you bought the game because it sold full price, you could actually go into the store and get a refund, which is what you did, because then you could turn around and buy it back for $2. So you'd get all your money back and then only have to give them $2 and you'd get the game.
Dang, not in the Americas. Capitalism.
Woo! False advertising. That's the first time in my time of gaming that I've seen that. I've seen many bans here, but not that. That's crazy.
That's amazing. All right, who's next? T-Bird?
Yeah, I'll go.
All right.
Yeah.
Good job, T-Bird. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
All right. Wise words from a wise man.
Wise words. No, I was thinking Destiny. That was I guess you could say that was my first entry into like a big MMO. I guess that's what they could call it. But that game was a lot of fun. That was back when Call of Duty games were just being real trash and nothing was new, like really fresh or new. So hop into this game, end up finding a whole team of people to play with, and like what Clyde's saying, get in a little group, get your little clan or whatever, go do all the cool raids. So
now you're talking Destiny 1 or Destiny 2 or all the above?
It kind of goes with both of them. I more so had more experience with Destiny 1 just because that's the one I put the most time into. I currently trying to get back into Destiny 2 right now. So that should be a fun one to get back in.
Now, I bought Destiny, and I never played the first one. Does it have a story?
Meh.
It's an MMO story.
So I will tell you this much about the story. I have literally played I've literally played Destiny 1 3 different times. I still to this day could not tell you what the storyline is.
Yeah, it's cannon fodder.
It really is. Because the story the story in 1 is involving picking up a lot of like collectibles in the game and reading about it.
The Grimoire cards or
that, and you would have to go on their website or Bungie's website and read about it.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm out.
Because if I remember correctly, I haven't played that game since it came out, like Destiny 1. And I remember at the very beginning, in like the opening scene, they're like, the dude who's sitting there lecturing you for like 30 freaking minutes, he won't shut up, but he never actually tells you anything useful. He's like, I could tell you about the Great War, but that was a long, long time ago. So it doesn't matter, even though it destroyed the world. So I'm like, what is this? And then I remember just chilling at the hub and looking at this weird robot that sounded like Marcus Phoenix. And that was it. I never played it again. Oh, yeah, and I kicked around a soccer ball. I remember you could do that.
Bring it. We're on a special planet.
Forgot about that. That old soccer ball.
Yeah.
I do have to say that Destiny's special events for like Christmas and stuff were out of this world.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
Literally.
I see what you did there.
See, my problem was I kept getting left behind because I like to observe the world, and everybody just kept going ahead, and I was just left behind, and I kept getting killed. So
yeah, they'll do that to you. It's if you're not paying attention with your team or like communicating right, you'll always get left behind.
No, I think he's talking about the whole grinding factor of the game. Like, I got the same thing. My friends were like, oh, we're level 300. And then they would either come in and, like, pull you right through, and you're like, well, I don't get the point of doing that, playing this game.
Oh, no, I did that. I had that same experience, but, like, it wasn't bad. I would get dragged through enough stuff to get to the light level for the raids, and then help them beat all that crap. Even though I was severely underleveled and outperforming everybody that was higher, but
Ooh, subtle flex.
Legit happened. Like it was like I think it's right at the end of Destiny 1 when they put that new raid out. I was like probably 30 levels under, but like outperforming several people above me.
I played the second, like, so Destiny 2, I played that for a little bit when it first came out because the hype was so high from the first Destiny. I was like, okay, I'm going to get in on this next one. And then me and Josh Krabs played like 2 times, 3 times, something like that. And then,
I remember because I was supposed to play with y'all.
yeah, and yeah, you like poop socked it one weekend. You're like, I'm already done. But so me and my son actually jumped in and we played for a little while, but I'll be honest, I couldn't really, like, we would play it and it would be like a week or two later, we play it a week or two later. I couldn't really put together the mission structure, you know? I didn't really understand, like, going from planet to planet. Sometimes you go back to a planet. Like, I just found myself doing the same, like, same crap over and over again. And this is like without actually finishing the main campaign.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with it. It's a constant loop and grind you got to do just to be able to afford like certain pieces of gear, get upgrades to that gear for the gear and all that. Then you got to do this. You got to keep playing those missions over and over again to get the higher end gear for stuff like the raids and everything, or just for random rolls you wanted of a certain weapon or armor type.
Yeah. I didn't. I'm not like a gear guy. Like I can't think of a game that I've played where I've actually enjoyed that aspect of it.
Oh, trust me, the gear stuff I didn't like sit there and grind for certain pieces. I got what I got, and I was like, all right, cool.
God of War.
That's kind of how I play
with the gear. It's not like MMO, but it's kind of the same thing.
Everything is kind of set with that, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I should know because I had the platinum for that.
It is gear light, though. It is like, you know, put on some crap, put on some runes, put on some bubbly. I don't know. I'm not a gear person. Like, I think if it makes your character look cool, that's fun. But like
that's the thing too. Like the high end gear always looks better than just the kind of this is the kind of common legendary stuff you can get. But here's this really cool legendary stuff you got to do specific quests for and everything.
Yeah. That's never been me. I mean, personally. I want to find a game that like I'm into like that. I kind of thought I was going to dig the Avengers, you know. It's like, I'm a big superhero fan. Like, I think this is going to be cool. This is very action beat 'em up, you know. It's not like I'm going to be grinding out for guns that are 0.1% better than the last gun that I had. And then I play the Avengers and it's like, it doesn't do anything. You don't like, I mean, it does do something. It makes your actual levels go up. Therefore you can actually beat the characters you're fighting against, but like, it doesn't change your character. Like, you don't see the gear on them. It has like a little, like, I don't know, like it almost like has an invisible little gear outline shows up in your menu. And it's just, you just at that point grinding for numbers, and it just was dumb. Like, and you just spent so much time in the menus. That's another thing I don't like about like loot driven games, is that you spend so much time in the menus, like changing your stuff, and like, I got a new helmet. Let me put that on real quick. I don't really like that one. I'm gonna go put the other one back on, even though it does kind of min maxing and all that stuff. I don't know. For the 5-minute gamer, it's just.
But that whole gear loop, like, it doesn't surprise me tonight that the three, like, Kalai, myself, and Tanner, we tend to sink, you know, a lot of hours into games. You know, I'm sure Zach does at times too when he has the time, but you know, we're consistently sinking big amounts of time, and the attraction of those games and gear loops are for games that are going to last you hundreds of hours potentially. Because you play your 40-hour game, like, why do I want to get that cape or that hat? Like, I'm going to be done anyway. It's so much work for nothing. And you know, so you want it for your character because you're going to have it for hours and hours to come. And then the other side of it is there's also like a mark of respect in the game, which you probably, you know, wouldn't understand if you didn't play, in that you see somebody wearing something and you know how the process, whether it's a skill-based process or a time grind, you know, it took them X amount of time to learn, and maybe you ask them stuff, you know, or they could help you with the game in a way. And it's a lot more than just, you know, what hat you choose to wear, I think, if you really get into these games. And I think that's where the attraction comes. But it's a massive time sink to get to that point, I think.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure in the first Destiny I had close to 600, maybe 700 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the game. I like. That's what I find. Like, I know, Daryl, you're time constrained and stuff. That will eventually change in 40 years, perhaps, when your kids move on. But the funny thing is, when you're not so time constrained, it's a weird thing because, like, a lot of people play their game. They play one game at a time, and then it ends, and they like the end, like that last 5 hours. It's really cool because you're overpowered. You're like, the game, you know what's happening. It's awesome, and it ends. And that's the addiction in an MMO, a good MMO, maybe not like WoW, but like Destiny, Final Fantasy, perhaps. Good MMO, that addiction is just drip fed to you for hours and hours and hours because there never is an end. There's always more, but you are getting more powerful. It's not like, you just, and that's the clever, of squashing levels or raising caps. And it's a totally different type of drug. And they've definitely mastered it with subscriptions or DLCs and things. But yeah, if you're playing like, if you like putting in 100 hours into a game, then and you haven't played an MMO, I definitely recommend try all three for 10 hours, see which one you like the best and get into one, because the reward, if you're prepared to spend that sort of time over years, not over a week or two, is just going to be out of this world. And it will change your perspective on all games because you really get to learn how other people play, how gear sets really work, how strategy works. It's just so much in all of those games. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think that was always my favorite part, is like learning all the raid mechanics and everything, because everything varies from raid to raid, but one person messes up and everything's going to hell.
I have one question, if I can, Tanner, because I haven't played much Destiny, or I'm more interested in Destiny 2, I suppose. How approachable is it for like a new player that's just trying to figure it out? They're not in a guild or they're not running with people. They're just sort of starting and trying to find their feet. Is it manageable, or do you need someone to help you?
So I haven't played in over a year, and it literally just threw me at the first, like the newest campaign. So here's your new starting point, go. So it should be fairly easy to get into.
That's all.
Now, does it give you like a previously on Destiny 2 and then tell you what happened at this point, or no?
Pretty sure it did. I skipped it. It's like I remembered most of the stuff that happened from last I played, so I was like, I don't really want to watch this recap.
I'm over here like, guys, I'm all about the stories, man. I want to know what's going on. Here's my window into this game. And Tanner's like, press X to skip.
Well, actually, here's the second question, because you laugh about that, but these games have so much text that you only tend to pay attention to the story that's voiced. Does Destiny 2 have a lot of voiced dialogue for the story, or is it more reading?
Everything's voiced.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome. Anything else, T-Bird?
That's it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, it's not very often that me and the missus actually play a game together. Other than like ouch, you're on my hair and just the tip. But every now and again, we'll play an actual. She was behind me when I said that. Every now and again, we'll play a game together, and it's always a memorable experience. So the wife and I played a game called Hidden Agenda together. Have any of you ever played that?
Yeah, actually, I think I played it at your house.
Supermassive. Maybe.
Didn't we play it with Hector?
Maybe we did. Yeah, for like a PG spoiler.
Yeah. That's what it was.
We had to link up our phones and play it.
Yeah, I remember playing it because you wanted to show
crazy.
us.
I forgot.
And,
I forgot we did that.
Yeah, me, you, and Hector. Maybe somebody else, but I think it was just us three.
Old DJ Technicals. Yeah, so it's a supermassive game. So the guys that made Until Dawn, they've been making the Man of Medan, Little Hope, House of Ashes, the Dark Pictures anthology. I love these interactive games, these movie-like games. And I really like, when you're watching something with a really cool story, preferably horror-based. This one's not. but like having the option to make a choice, and it's just guiding the narrative, guiding the story. I love the Telltale games. I love these Wales Interactive games. I love this style. This is a very relaxing style. You know, we all work a very physical. I say we all, me, Zach, T-Bird, we all work together, and we work very physical jobs. So there's days where you go home and it's like, I don't want to freaking move my body because it's been a rough one. Not to mention we work in the heat, and it is excruciatingly hot right now. Like this year has been one of the hotter years in recent memory, and one of the more humid years. And there's days where you go home and it's like, I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to move. I want to play games because this is the little bit of time I got, but I don't want to move. And so a game like this every now and again it's perfect. And this was part of Sony's PlayLink initiative, and they were all like, we're going to get into the mobile space, and here's how we're going to do this. We're going to turn your phone into a controller. We're going to let you and a partner make decisions. And the game graphically was pretty great. I think some of the facial capture was a little weird because they used some pretty mainstream actors and actresses in the game. And at the time, actually, I was watching the CW series Arrow, and what's her name? Kate Cassidy, I think is her name. The chick that played the Black Canary in Arrow. She was kind of like the main actress in this, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this is cool." And then the dude from iRobot, I think it was, or Mr. Robot, yeah, it was Mr. Robot. He was in there. And it was the game is interesting. It is a suspenseful, mystery, detective-esque game, and you're trying to find this killer, and it's very Heavy Rain inspired, in my opinion. And Heavy Rain is one of my all-time favorite games. So there was some nice twists. There was some really cool things kind of going on in it. But the coolest part was the fact that you could, while you're making decisions, if you're playing the game by yourself, you just make the decisions and the game kind of progresses on. But if you're playing in a group or with a party or with a partner, they have their phone, you have your phone, and you make decisions. And it almost has like a little card game, like a little mini game against each other. And there's ways to kind of sabotage each other, like your character you're controlling has to run and or dodge or go through like a quick time event sequence, and you can mess that up for them, or you can like I said, there's certain cards where you can play like a steal card and steal the decision and change the story and the narrative based on how you want it to go. It was very interesting, and it might have been a little too much for a game like this. At the time I was like, oh, this is pretty novel and cool, but in retrospect it might have been a little too much, kind of taking you out of the story to do these little things. But it was good, man. It was a game that I enjoyed. I played it with my wife. She enjoyed it. And it was one of those things where it took a person who's not a gamer, who will never be a gamer, and put them in a game. And we got to experience it together. And I thought that was a good experience. And I would love more things like that. And even some of these more, like I was playing Nightbook, at CJ's recommendation the other night. And that one in the menus, and I'm sure the Dark Pictures anthology games are doing this too. But in the menus, you can actually slow down your decision-making time to incorporate streams, and so streamers can get their audiences to contribute and interact. And so there's a bit of a correlation there where it's like, oh, my wife and I played this game together, and we would stop and make decisions together because we wanted to do the story together. And then we played the game again and kind of pitted against each other and told the story a different way. And then now these narrative heavy experiences are kind of built with, community and group involvement. And I don't know. CJ, what was your experience with Hidden Agenda? Was it a game that you actually played and enjoyed, or did you just kind of burn through it for trophies?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was one of the first PlayLink games as well. You could play it on your phone, it's like a little novelty, but it was cool because it showed like they could have gone down the route of the dying FMV. That's sort of around the time where the FMV really started to come back again, and they incorporated like it's how do I say this? Like, it's many of the FMVs earlier, the old FMVs that you'd play on PC, they were very much one-dimensional in that whatever you sort of chose, it would probably branch once and that's it. So you'd have this ending or this ending. There wasn't any
Right.
variation. And they sort of came about just as this new era of FMV, and we're seeing it now with Wales Interactive, and there's a ton of them all the time, and of these new games where there are these sort of multiple endings, and your choices, they do sort of matter. And, you know, like you say, oh, like they don't with Telltale, but you can see at the end how many scenes there are. And a lot of these games now, and I think that one as well, they have like 300 to 400 different scenes. A lot of them can be very short, but it shows you how much variation there was. And I don't know if you got the platinum in that game, but it has 2 modes, which was really cool as well. So a mode that's really focused on a party situation, and then a mode that's more of a single player, the way you play it. Like the story is the same, but the way you sort of, you know, interact with the game is different.
Yeah.
So it was very cool. Yeah.
I don't have the platinum in that one yet. That was the one that my wife and I were going to do together to completion. But I've played it both ways. I played it with her. So I played it just her and I together, making decisions together, almost like a single player, you know, experience. And then we played against each other, where, you know, she can make her decisions, I can make mine. We can kind of play the little wild cards against each other. And then it was we played 4 players, me, my wife, my brother Gagum, and his wife. And we would all kind of pit against each other, and we had a blast doing that. So it was a very interesting game and a very gimmicky, I guess, way of doing things. But like, there was potential there. If they could have, in my opinion, and who knows, maybe it wouldn't have worked. But I think there is a market out there where you can do party style games with your phone, a la Jackbox kind of thing, you know. So this was cool.
The other great thing I remember about that game was it's like the perfect troll game, because you have the ending I think most people would get, and then depending on, you know, your quick time events and how successful, you can get the real ending, and it's quite different. Well, it's, you know, it's more in depth, and it's always fun playing those games, and you hear people talk, and you're like, they only got the first ending, or, you know, they got the other ending, and it's I think that's cool. That it always reminded me like a bit like a Saw movie. Like you watch the movie and then you're like, I wonder what was really going on. I'll have to wait for the next movie to see.
Yeah.
If you want another good party game, I don't mean to interrupt, but Space Team is a blast. It's a phone game that you would have like everybody download. So like you download it, your wife would download it, your brother, your kids can play, and you're on a spaceship that's like that's being destroyed, and you're trying to save it. So like each phone gets a command. So it might be like pull the Blatherfer or whatever it's called. Like they literally make up names for this stuff. But you might not have the Blatherfer. You're only getting the instructions. So you have to yell out the instruction, and whoever has that has to do it. So like you're yelling at each other to actually get all of the spaceship things to see how far you can get without destroying your ship. It's actually a lot of fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think you would like it, especially with your kids. I think your kids would have a blast with it.
So for this month's Patreon deep dive, my kids and I went through Nightbook, and I played through it the first time. Again, like I said, at CJ's recommendation, FMV game. Very interesting. I mean, CJ, you had mentioned that you thought it was a COVID game because of how it's filmed, and I totally see that. And it was really good for it. I think it was very novel for what they were doing, what they were able to accomplish. And I played through it the first time, and I was like, I enjoyed this, and it was pretty good. I was like, man, my kids came up. I was playing through it a second time. I was like, I'm going for the platinum, and my kids came up and they're like, what are you playing? And I was like, this wasn't too bad. I was like, why don't you sit down and we'll play it together. So we managed to go through all of the other endings together. And we got the platinum, me, my oldest, and my daughter. And we just watched Quiet Place 1 and Quiet Place 2, and then played Nightbook. And so even though Nightbook wasn't that creepy, it was just kind of like the perfect storm. And it was good, man. We had a really good time. There was a little bit, I mean, obviously I got young kids, so there was like a couple of spots where there was a little bit of bad language, and there was one point where there's two different ways you can have a man slit his own throat. And, I didn't think any of it was too grotesque to where they couldn't, experience it or whatever. But it was funny just watching them react to the supernatural stuff and watching how they reacted to the dude slit his throat. It was crazy. It was cool. And I love those games are good for that. There's a party aspect to them that really works. And it's cool sitting back and having to deliberate between three people. Like, okay, what decision are we going to make right here? And like, how are we going to go forward? So, and that's again, hidden agenda. And I guess maybe that's why I picked it, just because I'm coming off of a similar experience. But I really thoroughly enjoy those type of games. And then I went on a little bit of a buying spree and bought a bunch more.
Oh, nice. Well, I hope you bought, because the best one that I've played, and I know I mentioned it a ton of times, is that I saw Black Clouds, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate for your children or not. You would know better than me, but the ending, it's much more intense than some of them with it's person-on-person violence, I suppose, towards the end. But it's really great, and it's a little confusing, and sometimes the voice dubbing is a little out because it was done in German, but it's a great FMV, that one, and very, very horror-filled.
I bought it and I looked at the ESRB on it and I was like, this one's not for them.
No.
But I bought that one. I bought the wine. I bought something else. There was one though that was like Japanese K-pop action. Like, does that like sound familiar to you?
Is that what it's called? Or
No. It's not called that. But it was like it was FMV, very Japanese. Like action, a little bit of supernatural stuff. It was actually in the sale from I'm looking now. I was one of those games I think I might have put it in my wish list. I don't even know how to check your wish list on PlayStation. But here we go, wish list.
Is it in English?
It's called Death Come True.
Oh yeah, that's really good. That is by the guy that made Danganronpa. Which I know a few of us would be familiar with, the Japanese, VN/adventure game, deducing game. It is good. Trophies are not so good in that game, but the game itself is really good.
Again?
Death Come True.
Yeah, it launched on the Switch and PC like about a year earlier, and then out of nowhere it came to PS4, which is great.
Watch that trailer, Kalai. It's wild.
I'm like bringing it up on my Steam account right now.
Yeah, it's Japanese wild as well, which is like a lot of these games we talked about are like FMV are all English based or Western based, but that's Japanese based, and it's just it's fantastic. Yeah.
Now, you say that it has some K-pop in it.
It just watch the trailer. It doesn't have K-pop in it, but it was just like. It's weird. It's just over the top, and that's what it reminded me of.
No, because one of our good friends and Patreon producers of the show is my girlfriend Veronica, who's a big K-pop fan.
Oh, okay. Shout out, Patreon producer. That's awesome. Yeah, this one was. It just I was playing the store, and I saw this, and I was going through and buying all the FMV games that I saw. And I was like, oh, well, buying this one. This one is wild. At least the trailer was wild. I don't know if the game itself is, but
it's very wild. Yeah. And it's sort of it may be okay for your kids too, because it's sort of monster horror, although there's a bit of sexual overtones as well. Wonderful.
Well, I'll definitely I've got it downloaded, so I'm checking it out for sure. I just waiting on a little bit of time. But yeah, this is this stuff right here, man. I was I don't know. I'm into this. I think this stuff's cool. So yeah, that's why I said hidden agenda. Just kind of rounding back to that. It was one of the earlier ones of that nature, coming off the heels of Until Dawn, and that's something else too to be said about Supermassive is they've put out some pretty cool games, pretty consecutively. Like they're doing an 8-part series with the Dark Pictures anthology, but they went Until Dawn. Hidden Agenda, Impatient, and then Man of Medan Little Hope, House of Ashes, and I'm sure I missed one in there. They might have done a second VR game. I just don't remember. Oh yeah, Rush of Blood.
By the
That's a lot of games. Go ahead.
By the way, I was going to say, can we just take a moment for the trolling I am currently doing on Joe?
Oh, No Show Joe?
Yes, on No Show Joe. He posted, our good friend Roberto posted, say 4 things that a woman would want to hear. And of course he said, you were right. And I posted, you can podcast. And then he actually said, well, that's only 3 words. So I separated pod and cast to make it 4. And now he's saying, wait, I thought there was no show tonight.
Well, he's now been branded No Show Joe.
But I thought you'd like I was trolling him.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Kalai, T-Bird, Gronk, CJ. If you don't have anything else, I'm going to land this plane.
I have like a little bit of a question.
Sure.
I don't think Zach actually talked about a game.
Oh no, I didn't
actually.
really.
Oh wow, it's funny. It's funny because he talked so much about Fallout. I forgot that was your game. Zach, what was your game? Oh, okay. Hang on. Before you say anything, I knew. So when I pitched this idea, I already kind of in my mind was like, okay, I'm trying to guess who's going to bring what. And I was like, well, CJ's going to bring something out of left field I've never heard of. I was like, T-Bird, I know the style of games T-Bird likes. I did not expect Destiny. So, but I figured he would go like a Dark Cloud or like a Kingdom Hearts or something older, RPG like. Kalai, I didn't have any idea for you. I was just kind of guessing. I figured it would be a shooter, but I knew. I was like, oh, dude, Zach is going to talk about one of the Fallout games because when he said he put thousands of hours in those games, he's not kidding. Like, I would go to his house and our family used to do stuff together every 2 weeks, roughly. We had monthly birthdays and then wrestling pay-per-views. And if he wasn't playing a wrestling game, he was playing Fallout, and then Halo. That would kind of be the 3. And this is kind of pre Minecraft as well. So when you mentioned Fallout and then Zach starts talking about Fallout, I had already made my mind up that was his game. I completely forgot that you didn't even pick. So Zach, bring us home with your game.
All right. I'm actually kind of stuck between 2, like Kalai was. So I'm going to give an honorable mention to Super Mario World.
Okay.
But I'm actually going to talk about a wrestling game. It's funny enough you say that.
Okay. Yes, question of the week winner.
So, picture this, you sons of bitches. It's 2008,
What?
and 10-year-old, I don't remember how old it was, but I'm just going to say 10, because I'm too dumb to do math. And new wrestling game comes out, and the older ones, they're so hard to play now because of SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, which is the game I'm talking about. The older games, you had to press a certain button. You had to press the Y button to run, but you could only run in one direction. The moves are limited. It was more arcadey. This one comes out, and you can free roam, and there's so many more button combinations to do different moves. And as a kid, this is one of the first wrestling games with Jeff Hardy in it again. And as a kid, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. So, and I don't remember, Daryl. Do you remember if this was the first one with Road to WrestleMania?
I don't remember actually. 2007 started that new era, and I think Road to WrestleMania was in there. But 2008 was when they had, I think it was John Cena and The Undertaker on the cover.
That was 2000.
2009 was DX.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think it was John Cena and Undertaker.
One of them was, I think 2010 was when it was with the
DX or something.
It was ECW.
No, ECW was 2008. That was also a big part of it because it was finally featuring ECW.
Okay.
after they acquired it.
2011 is John Cena with his arms in the air. That was one of my favorites. But yeah.
Anyway, it's been so long, I don't remember. But I loved that game so much. It was so fun, and the creator wrestler tool was actually good to use. Like, it was so hard to make, even though as a kid everything I created was shit. But it was cool. It was still cool because you could do a lot more. And this game allowed you to go. I remember it was the first time in a long time that you could go in the crowd and beat the crap out of each other.
Oh yes, I remember that. It had the that rafter setup, to where you throw them into. You could throw them into the crowd. You can make your way over to the rafter, and then it had cool animation sequences built around it, and you can knock them off that rafter.
Yeah, and it was also one of the first games in a while to allow you to have backstage matches, if I remember correctly. Even though you couldn't go back there from the ring, you had to start there, which was kind of lame, but it was still cool to have. But I remember coming home from school eager to just turn on the Xbox and play that for hours. I'd ignore my homework. I did everything to go and play wrestling, even though it didn't matter, because as soon as my sister picked up the controller, because she's a couple years older than me, she was really good at the games, and I'd always lose. But yeah, that game was probably one of the first 360 games I probably sunk a lot of time into, other than Halo 3 at the time.
It was a good one, man. It was really good. I remember 2008. It was funny because my wife and I we got married in 2007, and so we got married right in her last year of nursing school. And they tell you your last year, especially your last semester, you can't have a job because you have to do 20 or 30 hours worth of coursework, and then another 20 to 40 hours of clinicals, or whatever it ends up being, where they actually have to go work in a hospital setting, but they're doing it for credit, not for money. And so when they sit down and they give you your schedule, they're like, yeah, you can't work this semester, blah, blah, blah. And so my wife, being the headstrong woman that she is, she's like, yeah, she kept a job. So we were out grocery shopping one night, and money was tight because she was only working one day every 2 weeks, waiting tables. And so we were, living off of my salary, which was very low at the time. And it was $3 an hour instead of $4 an hour like I make now. And so money was tight, and the way I would budget and do video games, I would only buy $10 games if I had the extra money. And at the time we were traveling real heavy with the band, so all of my excess money would go into supporting that, because 2009 the economy hit real bad and we were not making money at all on our shows. So that 2008 2009 time, I was like, $60 for a new wrestling game. I want it, but blah, blah, blah. My wife picks up a double and makes enough money in tips to put in what we had to have budget wise. And then she goes and she picks me up, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. So that was a really cool thing. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. This is. So I played the crap out of that game. And while she, the day she's at school, when she's clinicals, when she's working, if I wasn't playing music, I was playing SmackDown vs. Raw, doing the general manager mode and all that stuff. Dude, that junk was freaking crazy.
That game was so fun.
I loved it.
I'd just like to take a moment after that beautiful story, just to for the listenership too, just to realize just how far Daryl has come from the tough streets of America, of the average man, to the other day, or now being able to enjoy the country club in his own private golf cart with his dog in the beautiful sun. And this is a story of success. It's a story you can have too, and it's just uplifting to me.
You just got to give your life to Sony.
That's right. You pledge allegiance to
That's right. You'll
Sony,
save
and you
so
too.
much money because you don't need to buy any of the game. They're all garbage.
Coming from the number 2 Sony gamer in Australia. That's right. So if anybody has the right to say it, you do, my friend. But yeah, in typical
We'll
Loot
have
Bros,
to organize a Loot Bros golf day at Daryl's Country Club one day. When this COVID business is over, it'll be awesome.
Oh man, nah, dude, we're starting a gang actually.
Oh, it's that time of
They're called the Hills Angels. Because in your golf cart, you kind of climb those hills on the golf courses and all that stuff. We got a couple of hills here in the neighborhood.
Oh my gosh!
I haven't quite got to work my way up into there's like stages you have to go through, and eventually you'll get a decal that has a golf cart turned, to the side a little bit, and it says Hills Angels. I hadn't quite got my decal yet, but I'm working on it. I'm putting in some miles, and we're talking about riding to Publix in the golf carts here soon. So
that's uplifting. What scared me, like that's what I thought, you were upstanding and a success story. And then Cly mentioned that he's probably just taking his dog for a piss at the top of the street. And I was like, oh, wow, America.
No, we were feeding the ducks. We were down at the clubhouse feeding the ducks.
No, but no joke. My parents lived in a over 55 community in Florida, and the place was so big you did actually have a golf cart to get around. And I kid you not, the dog, if it was too hot, that dog would jump right into the golf cart, take me to the fire hydrant.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the picture. We had both of them with us.
Mm-hmm.
So we took Chase, the golden, and then it's funny because little Milo, he's our Shih Tzu. He can.
How wealthy are you? You own a Shih Tzu. Oh my God. What is going on there? What? This first world country of America. Oh, come on. They have Shih Tzus.
Yeah, we do. And he's a mess too, man. And so so I got in my golf cart that's lifted, it's got the flares on the side, got the nice tires, rims to match my truck. And I'm riding down the road with my golden retriever, my kids, and my Shih Tzu, and I got him kind of tucked up on my
arm.
Got
it in a handbag as well. Oh.
Yeah, basically.
He's got a bougie bag.
Yeah. I'm over here. What's funny is my wife's like, "Wow, from metal band to Shih Tzu on a golf cart, you have changed." So, that's right. It's hard around these parts, man. I'm telling you. We're barely getting by over here.
Just see all these geriatrics in Florida with their walking machines and their canes and their walkers and golf carts. What a place to live. One day, hopefully, listeners, if we're lucky and win the lotto, we can retire there to this wonderful paradise that they have in the
one
South.
Day, man.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. It's hard. Somebody's got to do it, though. Like somebody has to ride the golf carts and have the Shih Tzus. Somebody's got to. And I will fall on that sword.
I know we're way detracting. That is my dream. I know the South, you have these big balconies around your house. You go and play golf in the morning because it's too hot. Spend all afternoon drinking iced tea, occasionally shoot your gun in the air. Oh, it sounds magical.
It really is. I mean, it is actually that good.
I just never imagined myself with a Shih Tzu, but look, I can do it.
Man, I was more of an English bulldog guy myself, but
it's the sort of dog that doesn't question your performance, isn't it? When you look at a dog like that, you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, he'll love me just the same. So yeah, no judgment here.
Yeah, it's no size comparisons there, Cly.
There you go. So, all right. Now that everyone has gone, no one got forgotten, no man left behind. This has been the Loot Bros, the Super Loot Bros. That's right. Episode number 2 for the Patreon. Thank you so much, Patreon patrons, for all of your support. Like I said, good first month. Going into the second month, we've got a bunch of extra content still planned. Lots of good stuff. Cool deep dives. And I think it's going to be, I think this patron thing is going to be a good thing for us. It's going to give us an outlet to do Some pretty rad stuff. What about you guys?
Money.
I just want to say to
These sheets ain't gonna pay for themselves. Go ahead, Kalai.
I just want to say, after hearing this episode,
I bet the
which you
Shih
should,
Tzu on it.
you know what? I'm supposed to interrupt you for Jared, guys. Don't make me call the Jared.
Hey, whoa. Does Jared have a Shih Tzu? No. So what you gonna interrupt with that?
Did you see his comment that every time I get interrupted in trying to talk, I gotta smack you guys down? No, I wanted to say that what I got out of this episode is, and you probably didn't even think about this, but as a golfer, don't forget to clean your balls.
It's true. That is true.
Don't lose them
That's
either.
why you have a Shih Tzu.
Wise words.
Don't lose them in the sand pit either.
That's right. Kalai's words of wisdom.
And if there's no grass on the field, don't play.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yikes.
Yeah, we better get out of here before we end up on a list somewhere. T-Bird, you got anything else?
That's it.
CJ.
Sounds good.
All right. Gronk, Kalai, CJ, T-Bird, thank you so much. This is the Super Loot Bros, and we are out of here.